Hey friends, welcome to the Stock Hacker Academy channel. I'm here with Joel Arndt. Hey Joel.
How's it going?
I'm excellent. We're talking about stocks. We're talking about making money. Something that's dear to my heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can say it's kind of ESG. I only heard this acronym more recently. It is somewhat enviro friendly, depending on where people stand from.
hmm
We won't get into the debate, but then just the basic question: is oil better or battery-powered vehicles better? We'll let people decide that. If you don't like battery-powered stocks, maybe do something else.
If you don't believe in the EV trend, just tune out now.
Yeah, if you don't believe in electric vehicles and you don't believe in companies like Tesla have a future, then go. You know, we'll do something on Exxon later. or Suncor because we're Canadian. But today we're talking about electric vehicles and specifically one of the more bigger ones in China.
Going to talk about NIO Inc. Incorporated.
Yeah. So tell us more about NIO Inc, Joel. Because
hmm
I'm and then full disclosure, I am personally invested. I have shares. Uh, just quickly, I would like some diversification from in my investments. I'm a believer that China will become a world superpower more so than it is now. I like some Um, I like electric vehicles. Obviously, my Tesla is about to arrive soon, and and like Joel and I were just discussing before we start recording, China is China is going to support a local brand. They're already subsidizing them, and to me, that's fair game because I think it's very well documented how much subsidies Tesla has received back home. So this is just fair game.
Yeah, NIO it seems to be a popular name despite its size, and we'll get into that a little bit later. They're an EV manufacturer, an electric vehicle manufacturer in China. They started out as a luxury vehicle producer, so they were manufacturing luxury SUVs, and they've really expanded their product offering. So a lot of like sedans, a lot of different SUVs. They're going to get into minivans as well. But what sets NIO apart from the rest of the pack is their power generation, how they power their cars. And it's all battery, but they also have this battery swap system, proprietary, completely exclusive to NIO, that is very different from the rest of the market. So it basically allows you to go to a power station, this battery power station, just like you would a gas station, swap out your battery and continue on. So you're spending about the same amount of time in this power station as you would in a gas station. Whereas every other vehicle, every other electric vehicle, need to plug it in to charge it, and that usually has to be done overnight or within a matter of several hours. So you can't just stop mid trip to charge up,
Mhm.
not as easily as this battery swap system. So that's what sets NIO apart. That's their claim to
Right,
fame.
right. And I think people need to understand what is usually people's first concern with buying an electric vehicle is running out
Range.
of gas
Yep.
range, right? And that's partly and then also some people do not have the infrastructure to be able to charge their vehicle wherever they park their vehicle. So this is Neo is different in that they like like you mentioned, they're offering battery swapping,
Mhm.
and you and I were watching a video of a gentleman through for a battery swap, and it's the charging station was located along in an area with other charging stations. Apparently, there's currently 700 of them already along
Amazing.
Chinese expressways that are currently functioning, and it's large. It's almost completely automated. There are some humans, it seems, that are involved, but not for the user. They're employees of Neo, I'm guessing, that help users do it. It was a pretty cool video. Highly recommend that people look it up. You can find it on YouTube. Neo swap battery swapping, and the gentleman just parked his car in front of the station. The onboard GPS system helped him navigate there, and then once he parked outside the what looked like a modern garage, the car parked itself onto the platform, and then the battery swapping happened in just over 5 minutes. It was pretty cool. I've
Yeah,
never
it's
seen anything
interesting.
like it.
I've never seen anything like it either. I mean, you want to talk about full service gas stations, like nothing compares to this.
Yeah, you don't have to get out of your car. There's no smells. Again, the vehicle puts itself in place. You know, like we've all gone pumping gas before, and you see like the guardrails, and they're all scuffed up
Yeah.
because human drivers hit them with their own vehicles. Here, the vehicle puts itself into place.
Mhm. And
And then
sorry, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. And we were mentioned about the subsidies that they're getting, and they're getting subsidies from the Chinese government to build out these stations. I'm guessing this is part of some of their infrastructure bills, and NIO is partnering with other gas stations
Mhm.
so they can use their real estate for their own battery swapping stations.
Yep. They have a couple partnerships with Sinopec and CNPC. I'm not familiar with those companies, oil companies, but well, they're oil giants, I guess. They just did a deal
Sinopec, I
with.
believe, is the biggest.
Yeah, I actually recognize the name. I don't know the extent of their operations. The but Shell is obviously a brand that Canadians and North Americans are probably very familiar with. They have they just struck a deal with Shell in November where they are going to be collaborating on power stations throughout China, and they'll have 100 sites specifically in collaboration with between Shell and NIO by 2025.
Right. So Sinopec is China's largest oil supplier and second largest oil producer.
Oh wow.
Uh, and just like Suncor is big in Canada, their operating brand that we're most familiar with, Petro-Canada, is Petro-Canada. So Sinopec would have a similar network of gas stations that they're partnering with NIO. I'm guessing the government may have some say in that. Why would Sinopec allow a competing product on their property?
Yep.
And that kind of goes to Elon Musk's point about how China is doing more for greenhouse gases than any other country in the world. Uh, I know many will disagree with that. I'm quoting Elon Musk, so those are his words. Hate on him, please.
Yeah. I mean, he's tapped into this stuff, right? Like he's not quoting stuff out of his butt. Like he's
It's his
this is
experience.
it's his business
He
too,
actually
right? So
operates an EV company manufacturing in China.
oh,
This is his opinion.
yep. And he knows where the subsidies are because that's literally how Tesla makes money. We'll do a video on that later on, but Tesla makes money from green energy credits, right? Which I guess technically isn't subsidy, but anyway, I
It's
don't know.
government money.
It is, yeah.
It's not private.
But they're selling these credits to other companies because they generate. Because it's a wild business model, but um, so he's very interested in what the Chinese government is doing for its electric vehicle manufacturers because that's how they operate in the United States. So I think there's some weight to what he's saying for sure.
I would categorize him as an expert in this area.
For sure. I think one of the really interesting things about NIO too is like the entire ecosystem they've created. So they have the electric vehicles, they have these battery swaps. Battery swap stations. They are kind of looking to become the Apple of EV companies. They have three other companies: NIO Life, NIO Service, NIO Power. NIO Life is a clothing collection. NIO Service is just their service centers. Power encapsulates their charging stations and stuff like that. But in there is what they have, what's known as battery as a service. So kind of like how we have software as a service and allows people to build software solutions on a platform, like on a base platform. It sounds like they're going to allow other companies to build battery solutions based on their technology. So they really are looking to become an entire ecosystem and not just a vehicle manufacturer.
Well, they're definitely investing heavily in this.
Yeah.
I believe I read that the plan is to have 4,000 battery swapping stations, including 1,000 of them will be outside of China, and they have some plans to begin deliveries to I believe it's Norway.
Yeah. They opened up a plant in Norway last year.
Which is fascinating because
Mhm.
Norway is they have some similarities to Canada in that they are a major a large part of their economy is oil exports,
Mm,
and Norway is they're pretty progressive on their own green standards going forward,
hmm.
and they plan on being one of the first countries to be off of oil in terms of the vehicles. So fascinating times.
It is. It really is. And so you look at NIO from a fundamental level. Um, how are they performing, right? So like they're making this expansion. They're pretty hot in China, especially from a premium product standpoint. They were a premium product, so their volume isn't as high as a lot of the other companies, but they're now starting to create more accessible products, and they're branching out of China, obviously. Um, so March, I have some March numbers here. I'm going to share my screen actually. They released their March numbers, and it's good news for the company. Whether or not we like it for their position in the EV market in general, that's another story. But them as a company, they're starting to perform well. So uh, delivered. This was their new one of their new models, the ET7. They had 9,900 vehicles in March alone. That's 37% increase year over year, and then 25,000 vehicles for the first quarter of 2022, which is a 28% year over year increase. Culminative. So as of March 31st, 2022, they've delivered a total of 192,000 vehicles. Okay, so comparatively, Tesla did 936,000 cars in 2021 alone. So these guys are just getting going. They are really in more of the startup phase compared to Tesla. So it's hard, and their battery swap technology is really they really rely on the battery swap technology, whereas Tesla is charging, and it's a little bit more. There are more charging options out there than battery swap options. So you can see that NIO is very niche, but it is also growing.
I'd also say that their styling is quite impressive, and I think I'm allowed to say this. The design looks a lot nicer than Tesla's. The ET7 looks like a sports sedan. It's 4 doors, and Joel, can you bring up a picture of it?
Pulling it
ET7.
up right now.
Like it looks like a
Yeah.
nicer Lexus, and I'm getting a model. I'm getting a Model Y. I'm a family man. Functionality is more important to me than style. But this styling is it looks again, styling is subjective. In my opinion, this looks extremely nice.
Yeah. I mean, this is showroom, but still, like, this is gorgeous. And all of their cars are generally, and again, they come from a premium vehicle background, right? So all of their cars have really good aesthetic as well. If you look at good old Wikipedia, I mean, okay, hang on, where'd that EP9 go? This sucker. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously that's not that's not what you're buying out of the gate, but still, like that's awesome.
It definitely gets attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they know their customer, and so that's the AT7. That the first gray car we saw was what they just released. So something a bit more ubiquitous would be this. This is one of their SUVs, EC6. So definitely something that you want to be seen riding in.
And from the company's website, the ET7, from what they're saying is that the range will be up to 1,000 kilometers.
Fantastic.
That's what they're saying. I don't know how often that ever comes true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What conditions?
Yeah, I know what conditions. Again, we're not going to judge, but that's what they say on their own website. And the ET7 again, that's it's new production this year, right, Joel?
Yeah. Just started in March.
And And so from us evaluating the company as investors, they should be able to increase their sales based on having new models and based on their ability to ramp up manufacturing.
Mhm. And they're going to get into come on now. Minivans. Sorry. In late May, they're gonna be launching a minivan and larger SUV. So it's they're expanding on a lot of different fronts. They're expanding on a lot of different fronts. They're expanding their battery swapping stations, obviously, but they're also continuing to put out new models. So you like to see that.
I also see that the gross profit is about $1 billion on 5.6 billion. And if you compare that to like GM,
Yeah, yeah.
who have significantly more experience making cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can you show it on your trading view?
Yep, I'm here.
Wow.
Yeah, so net income net revenue is $5 billion in 2021. Like that's significant.
Yeah, go to income statement. So you see gross profit, that's the first line.
Yep. 1.6 billion for 2021.
1.06.
06,
1.06 billion.
06. Thank you.
Is this round? 1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and revenue is 5.6 billion. Can you flip to GM?
Yeah, sure.
So folks, remember that ratio: 1 billion gross profit to 5.6 billion revenue.
Gross revenue.
So again, GM being, I think everyone knows, familiar with GM. You know, they've been around forever. Joe Biden is a big fan of theirs.
Yeah. Pardon, I'm going to eliminate these comparisons.
I'll just flip to the financials.
All right.
The gross profit of about 18 billion on 127 billion.
So let's.
So that's so NIO's gross profit margin. I'm rounding down, so it's actually better than this. 1 billion over 5.6. So it's about 18% gross profit margin. For GM, who has a bit more experience,
Actually,
their gross profit margin is 14%.
yeah.
So while NIO doesn't make money today, they are a growth company. They're not expected to. They apparently are more efficient at it.
And you gotta love the fact that like General Motors is trying to get into the EV space. You know, they have their new electric Hummer that they just started producing and delivering in Q1, I believe, 2022. They delivered all of 26 electric vehicles total. So it's just like the General Motors is big in its own right for its gas vehicles, but if it's going to actually step up and meet its targets, I mean, it has some very ambitious electric vehicle delivery targets. If it's going to meet those, it has a long way to go. Where you look at someone like NIO, as a startup, it's already gaining incredible momentum. So
they've received massive investment as well. They don't. Do you have some footage of or pictures of their manufacturing facility?
Pull this up.
Because this is not. Okay, first off, let's give the caution that this is no way something that Warren Buffett would invest in. There is no dividend. This is not a household name in America.
Yeah.
Even though they invested in BYD, but we're not going to go there.
I'm just gonna grab a clip. There's some pretty awesome.
Well, the nice things about being a startup is that one can plan a business around like a blue sky. They're not hindered by anything, any sort of past legacy, contracts, or cultures. They can make it brand new.
Mhm.
Okay, so I saw a human. I saw a human in one of those.
Yeah, that's a game. Try and spot the human in their manufacturing process. It's wild. And look at the size of that plant.
And that's it on the right as well.
Yeah. I mean, just inside their offices, but like this is just neat. I mean, manufacturing processes in general are pretty cool, but like you don't see a whole lot of. I don't know how automated Ford or Chevy or GM are these days, but this is 16 acres. Okay, there
Oh,
we go.
humans.
Yep. Oh, that's the quality control. So there you go. So it's manufactured, and then you have humans who are doing the quality control. So in the final product, like I don't see anything there. So yeah,
Chinese are kind of known for their manufacturing, so I imagine they're going to do their best to keep costs down.
yep, absolutely.
So how's the stock performed, Joel?
Down right now for sure. It's been beat up, and when you look at, I'm gonna get some ratios up here, but it's okay. So I'm also going to compare it to some competitors just for fairness sake, remembering that they they do have a different business model, but and then that way you have a better picture of what's going on, uh, all around picture, and you can make a decision for yourself. You can investigate for yourself. Now, this is probably a really confusing chart, so I'll explain it real quick. This is a full year. I'm actually going to explode this a little bit. This is a full year of performance for NIO. These candles, these sticks, actually, to be even simpler, let's just make it a line as well. Blue line is, as you can tell, NIO. And XPEV is a Chinese EV automaker, and Li Auto is another Chinese automaker as well. What's the timeline on this? I'm gonna see if I can grab a full year. There we go, that's better. So you can see that NIO hasn't performed as well as the other two for whatever reason. I haven't found exactly why that is yet. Now they all follow the same process. It's just Li Auto has sustained more value, particularly between November and the beginning of March. So if we just get rid of the comparison, there we go. So we can just take a look at, so it had a high in the last year of $53, a low of almost $14, and it's trading at 19 right now. So really, if you look at this, is this a good time to get in? Is this is this like a relative bottom for it? It could feel like it. I'm not going to say yes or no, but it's definitely trading cheaper than it has all year. So
And then any predictions on where this is going to go, Joel?
let's take a look at let's take a look at some of the ratios. So the price to book ratio, and I constantly come back to this because it's like, what's their book value versus their price? Now, obviously, if their stock price is down right now, this ratio is going to be more attractive. Lower price, even if the book value of the company stayed the same, so all their assets minus liabilities, whatever value you have left, all of that value compared to the overall market cap, the price of the company. You want a low ratio. You want lots of book value, less price. So if you believe that this book value is going to increase over time, this is getting attractive. For me personally, that's me personally, especially when you look at its history, right? So Q3 2020, that 25, the price to book ratio was 25, and Q1 2021, Q3 2021, a year later, that was 12. Now its current is 7. So that's an interesting ratio. Another piece that I like to look at is debt. It's debt to equity. How leveraged are they, right? How much are they leaning on debt to finance their operations? So this is a direct comparison of the amount of short-term and long-term debt they have compared to shareholder equity. So what you have invested in this company. And again, it's less than 1, which is what you like to see. So their debt is less than the equity, which if you look at Canadian banks, they range anywhere from just under 2 to 2, like a 2 debt to equity ratio. So now, I mean, obviously very different companies. It's probably not a fair comparison, but just to, just as a, I guess, a broad strokes overview. So I want to see now, okay, how much cash do they have? How much cash are they sitting on? So cash and cash equivalents, 2 billion. Short-term investments is another 5.8 billion. So if they were to liquidate that, their power, their buying power is 8.69 billion as of Q4 2021. All right, so that sounds nice. What's their liabilities looked like? So short-term debt is 1.26 billion. Okay, not crazy. And we already know that these numbers are probably going to be pretty attractive because the debt to equity ratio is small. And then we go.
Well, it helps when there's government subsidies.
Yes, exactly. So that's another very good point. Like, how long can they rely on those government subsidies? And could they go on their own cash flow? Could they operate on their own cash flow? It's an important question too. Long-term debt sitting at 1.89. So yeah, as of right now, how NIO sits, it could pay off all of its debt with almost all of its debt with the pure cash and cash equivalents. But if it could liquidate some of its short-term assets, it's still healthy. So from that standpoint, in my opinion, this seems like they have a good foundation, especially with the amount of growth they're seeing in their deliveries. And it's at least something that I personally would want to watch. I don't own any NIO. I don't have any position in it, even with options. But it would be a stock that I personally would want to watch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll be looking to pick up some more shares if there's another good pullback. Maybe even I'll probably write some puts on it, actually, in the short term. And that's just me. This is hardly financial advice, folks. Mm-hmm. This is a very small portion of my portfolio.
We could be throwing this money away, and we're okay with that. We know that this is a potential. That is a potential outcome. Although we have a thesis, we have put together a thesis, and for getting in. Now we should also be putting together a thesis for getting out. We won't cover that today, but what is the exit opportunity? When do we want to get out? And then you stick to the plan. And good worst case scenario, and for an exit plan. So, oh crap, this did not go how we were expecting. Okay, we need to get out now. We need that exit plan and the best case scenario exit plan. All right, it just hit this point. I am okay to get out now. Now, and best case scenario might be in 30 years. We're just going to hold, and maybe there isn't like a specific like profit target, but you want to know what your exit scenario is if things go badly, so that you're protected. But
absolutely,
that's all for me.
All right. Well, thank you, Joel. I think it's just this is a bit of a fun interest of ours. It's not something that we're incredibly bullish on, but again, for myself personally, the way the world is going and the way that China is going as a economy, I expect their people to continue to make more money, and they'll probably want more vehicles.
Yeah, and a point you made earlier before this call was that as adversarial as China can get, or we feel like sometimes media makes China out to be, they play ball. They know that if they're going to be a powerhouse, they need allies. So
They need customers.
they need customers.
They need friends.
Yep.
Right. And then in exactly what you said, China plays ball with other countries. They recognize the government in Afghanistan, the Taliban. They recognize they stayed neutral with Russia. But yeah, and they're going to do business in Norway, which is impressive, which will directly compete against their biggest national export.
Yeah,
Incredible friends. You got to be good friends to be able to pull that off.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. And then until next time, we're going to come back. And for anyone interested, please like and subscribe. Set an alert for our new videos, because we're going to, every week we're going to come up with something more interesting. We'll probably get back to some more traditional companies for investment as we've gone a little bit far. But again, this is a bit of a personal interest of ours. But yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, and if you're a real estate investor who's just starting to investigate stocks, and you're seeing this and you're intrigued by a lot of the lingo and like the analysis, in the past you've enjoyed analyzing properties, and so when we open up these financials, you like that process, but you don't fully understand it yet, but you want to understand more. We just released a new report. It's called "How Real Estate Investors Find Cash Flow in the Stock Market." The link is available in the description below to download. That's completely free, and just it's a story of how Cherry, Erwin's wife, she started out, failed, tried again, and then made 100% in her first year back in the stock market, and then stories from other real estate investors specifically and entrepreneurs, and how they've found cash flow in the stock market. So if you want that, the link's in the description below as well.
Amazing. All right. Thank you, Joel.
Absolutely. Thank you. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.